Hi, Big Rob from Celeb Heights here with a wee video talking about height lingo, the kind of terminology we might use on celebheights.com or you might see on YouTube or other internet forums. Now, everybody watching this has a morning height, let's call it peak, and an evening height, let's call it low. Now, we shrink, of course, because of the effects of gravity. When you're standing upright, your discs lose a tiny bit of water content, and when you lie down, they're not under as much pressure, so they can rehydrate and thicken slightly. That's why we're taller in the morning, and over the course of the day, we shrink. On average, it's pretty close to 2 centimetres, about 3/4 of an inch. We also have an absolute low or an extreme low height. That's a rare height. That's the kind of height you see after you've been playing a game of football for 2 hours. So it's pretty rare and you shouldn't really be claiming your extreme low height. Another pretty common term we hear on celebheights.com is strong or weak. Now that pretty much refers to whether a person holds a certain height or they fall underneath it. For instance, in my case, I'd class myself as a strong 5'8" because I don't really measure underneath the 5'8" mark. Now Jenny, she's now a kind of weak 5'8" because she measures, say, 1/4 or 1/3 underneath 5'8". Also, in a similar vein, we have the term solid, which is pretty much interchangeable with strong. You know, a solid 6-footer in my mind, they don't really drop underneath 6 foot. Maybe at the evening, they're still holding 6 foot, or at worst, a tiny bit underneath it. Another interesting term I hear quite regularly on celebheights.com is upgrader or downgrader. Basically, that refers to somebody who might be inflating a celebrity beyond what they might claim themselves, or shortchanging them, a downgrader, knocking it an inch or two from their claim. Now that's pretty much subjective. You know, one person's upgrader could be another person's downgrader. One term I came up with once was height blindness, which basically refers to a person who may be 5'10" or 11 and they feel short in public. They might suffer from height blindness or selective or cognitive bias. In other words, they only see people the same height or taller. They're filtering out all the shorter people, so their perception of what the average height is distorted due to this kind of selective bias. Now, you should be able to joke about all sorts of subjects, height being no exception. You've probably seen some of my videos, and I've certainly had a joke or two about height or at my expense in relation to height. But sometimes people can step over that line. It can go from a little joke, a bit of humour around the topic, to becoming quite hurtful or aggressive or derogatory. And of course, there are some terms which I would class as derogatory. Probably the one that I'm not a fan of is manlet. You know, you see this all over the place in all sorts of forums, except on celebheights.com. If you use that kind of term, no, I'm not wanting it. Just don't use that kind of term. I will delete it. Why? Because it's quite derogatory and it's got quite a negative association. You know, you're viewing a person based on their height and you're thinking they're less of a man. That's not what Celeb Heights is about. Celeb Heights is about equality. You know, I don't care if you're 5'2" or 6'2" or 4'2". It's all good to me. It's what you say and what you do with your life. That's the real measure of a man.